like Zyn, right? Nobody else in the world knows what Zyn is. It's an American product. So really, you need something that's got universal appeal, and Doge has. And the other thing about Doge is they are trying to send this rocket ship to the moon and up into space, right? With Doge having the Doge Foundation having sponsored it. I mean, Dog with Hat. I mean, Ansem on Twitter has managed to raise 650 grand to take over the Sphere in Vegas
That's
to
incredible.
to put Dog with Hat on it. But the Doge Foundation is literally sending Doge to the moon, which is even more ludicrous. And so we haven't even hit this peak ridiculousness that's about to come.
Yeah, you have all these people telling you to sell, but my feeling is that that's not your instinct at the moment. I mean, you keep saying don't fuck this up. You've been saying don't fuck this up, by the way, before we got the sort of hype cycle even started. Right. I mean, you've been saying that when we were kind of in the 20, 30,000s
Look,
of
I mean, to go
Bitcoin.
back at the bigger picture, this is the biggest macro opportunity we've ever been given, right? This is a wealth generating machine, and people need that break. They need that opportunity to unfuck their future, and this is the big one. So it matters to me. This ends up being a full bubble.
That's
Something like 2013, you even get that double pump, which is the hardest thing in the world to trade, right? You think it's over because it's done a massive move. It corrects 50% and then rockets up. I don't know what it did, another 10x or something stupid in 2017. These markets are tricky. They're very tricky to deal with looking for tops. One thing I do know is people talk about, Coinbase being number one in the App Store. That doesn't make sense because they've already got 110 million accounts set up. It's the number of active accounts. I think you have to go to the Coinbase kind of quarterly statement and just see how many active accounts, because at the low, I think they got down to about 9 million out of 110. Let's talk again when we're at 50 million active accounts, and then we can say, it's probably pretty frothy.
Yeah, people always point at the Google searches for Bitcoin. They're exceptionally low. We've got to be early. And literally everybody knows about Bitcoin. Like, who needs to Google search Bitcoin anymore? So I think some of these metrics, much like the Coinbase one, are somewhat dead. Now, if we see Google searches starting to skyrocket for Ethereum again, or Solana, or maybe something that every institutional investor isn't aware of, I think those could start to be signals of froth. But I agree with you. I don't think Coinbase gets to number one in the store again, signaling that the market is safe to do wild things.
That's right. And it's creating wealth that you can sell some of your Bitcoin to buy something a little more speculative. So you start seeing the shift. You're seeing it in ETH, right? There's quite a lot of people shifting out of ETH into Sol or into meme coins to get a bit of extra juice. So that's just the risk curve working, because the risk curve is basically, I want to take more risk and get higher returns, and therefore I'll sell some of my less racy assets to buy racier assets.
I actually saw some interesting takes about Solana. You've obviously said, I believe, if it's that shorter cycle, we get maybe $500 Solana. If we go nuts, maybe $1,000 Solana. I totally agree with that. I actually saw some posts today that didn't realize Solana actually just made a new all-time high, I think yesterday, in market cap. So as much as the price isn't as high, when you consider the supply that's come on the market in that time, actually it made a new all-time high in market cap, which I've never really looked at that as a metric, but it made me sort of tilt my head and think that is meaningful.
Yeah, and also don't forget, Solana's gone up a lot, puts itself into GameStop, then the crypto craze, and now it's just gone straight into meme coins, which is like nobody's even my Twitter pinned tweet is about this. It's like they don't want to play your game anymore. People are playing their own game, and they know it's stupid. They know that these things have no intrinsic value apart from culture, and culture is fleeting. Yet they're going to do it, and they're going to make fortunes out of it.
But you will sell your dog with hat, right? You're not going to think that you're raging against the machine into eternity if that goes to zero to make a point, right? And I watched Dumb Money, the GameStop movie, and I cringed every time I heard these people say, "Well, if we ain't selling, I ain't selling." I don't know if anyone saw the movie, but it was pretty good.
If you want to rage against the machine, buy Bitcoin. If you want to rage against the system, buy Bitcoin. If you want to build a new system, buy Ethereum and Solana. If you want to poke your finger in the eye of of tradition by meme coins. It's kind of that they're very different things.
We talk about the don't fuck it up, just hold. Are those the three things that effectively you're willing to hold spot, through the end of this entire cycle? Is there anything
Yeah.
else?
Well, I'm actually on the Sui Foundation, so
Right.
I've got
Around metaverse, but are there any of these that you are really focused on that you think could actually see some meaningful adoption this cycle?
I think the everything everywhere all at once is going to be the feature of this cycle, and that will probably be the 2025 narrative. We've got the early narratives, went to DeFi, into memes, blah blah blah. But I think we will see that where a lot of the investment that went in VC will come out into a whole bunch of projects. So I think that's interesting, and people are staking out different corners. Some people like deep in because it's a real world application. Other people like gaming because gaming's huge, and I think all of these things come together. One of the ones for me that's interesting still to follow the next big tech breakthrough is this Fire Dancer on Solana, because if it is as meaningfully fast as it is, that changes the game for a whole bunch of things as well. Can you build exchanges on top of Solana? What could you do with that? If it really is 1 million TPS or 600,000 TPS or whatever the crazy number is, okay, that's a whole different order of magnitude. And so,
To be honest, I'm
both.
still somewhere in between, but yeah.
Both. So it's trying to help people pick through that. Also, your own psychology. You are the person. Oh, the other one I did is I interviewed Peter Diamandis's the guy who runs Fountain Life, which is his longevity clinic and healthcare prevention. That's another way of unfucking your future. That's a really interesting interview. I think that comes out on Friday. So I'm trying to look at health, mental wellness, and the big investment opportunities. But we also talk about the problems that you need to avoid, the traps you fall into. So that's pretty useful. So realvision.com/
So much fun to talk to Raoul. It is sad when we only get 30 minutes. We should have made that one an hour for a longer conversation, but the hits just keep on coming because now I get to ask Dan from the Chart Guys if he thinks Raoul and I are both insane people who are a great top signal for a bubble that maybe he's watching. I have no idea. But when you hear us talk about the everything cycle and the next 12 months, the next 18 months, 24 months, and this is your last chance, you go, Jesus, man, I should maybe sell something.
It's an automatic trigger, but it's also the kind of thing where I know I can't hit a crypto top. Like I shouldn't have that expectation. So, maybe you take a little bit off. And I like the things you were saying, about leverage being an enemy in certain instances where you're right, but you screw things up. And that's definitely something that needs to be driven home, because you see now people getting so confident that they're taking out loans to buy Bitcoin, and it's just